Hello guys, welcome to the Construction Safety Management Training delivered by OSHA Safety Consult Nigeria Limited, authorized training partners OSHA Academy. So today we'll be focusing on safety culture, working with contractors and involvement in safety. Now, as a way of introduction, we all know that the construction industry is a high risk industry when it comes to hazardous or hazard occurrences. You understand? As it gets to involve working in buildings, probably at height, working with heavy equipments and all that. All of this which pose hazard to those that are working in that sector. You understand? As a result, it is important that companies have what they call the construction management system tailored to suit their work operation. You understand? To in a bit to try to eliminate or minimize some of these hazards from occurring in the workplace. Now it says that an effective construction safety management system has five primary elements, and they are the safety culture, involvement, work site analysis, hazard prevention and control, education and training, all of which we are going to be talking about in the course of the training. So next we'll move on to safety culture. And here it says that OSHA defined culture as a combination of an organization's attitude, behavior, beliefs, values, ways of doing things, and other shared characteristics of a particular group of people. Understand? So basically, the safety culture is talking about the way the organization do things as regarding safety. Understand? How they do things, the attitude and behavior, their beliefs and their values, and the way they carry out or do things in the organization or company as regard what to safety. So that's what the safety culture is basically talking about. And they say other factors that ensure an effective construction safety management system include commitment. Now, the commitment is basically talking about the for a company to have a successful construction management system, they have to be committed to ensuring the safety of their employee, making sure their employee are free from any form of injury or illness, you understand? So that commitment is needed for a company to have a successful construction management system. But the question is, why should an employer be willing to invest money and time to ensure the safety of their employee, to ensure that the employee are free from injury and illness? Why should they be so committed, investing their money and time? Now, for them to be willing to do that, you have the company first of all have to understand the benefits that the effort will give to them as a company. It is only when they understand the benefit of ensuring the safety of their employee, that is only when they can become really committed. That is when they can decide to invest money and time in ensuring that workers do their work safely, or workers are prevented from injuries and illnesses. You understand? So they have to understand the benefit, the positive benefits of doing this. Now, take for instance, for when an employee gets injured in the course of working, or get involved in illness or certain form of accident. Now, this company are fined. They are fined by OSHA. Understand? So when somebody get injured in that company and they get fined, they lose money. There are also cases of compensation, heavy compensation. Understand? So by not ensuring the safety of their employers, they have the tendency of what? Losing money, either through compensation or through fine. Understand? So, and no company wants to lose money. Every company want to ensure that they make money and not to lose money. So if this keeping workers unsafe or not ensuring the safety of workers will make them to lose money. They will not want that. So therefore, they would like to do everything possible to ensure that they do not lose money. Understand? So by knowing this and knowing that by keeping the safety of their workers and keeping them from injuries, they save money. It will help them to be committed to ensuring this task. You understand? So basically, ensuring the safety or being committed requires money and time. You understand? It requires money and time. But to put in that money and time into ensuring the safety of employees, the company has to first of all understand the benefits of doing that for them to be able to put in that effort and commitment. That's what the commitment is basically talking about. Now, another effective way is through leadership. Now, a lot of supervisors and managers they really neglect the role of good leadership in trying to achieve this construction safety management system or having a good safety culture. You understand? A lot of them do not pay attention to it and they do not really care. They don't really put in that effort to ensure that they lead by example. Understand? Giving a leadership by example they really don't put it in practice, and this affects the safety culture of a particular company as well. Then also they do not kind of bring in that tough, caring leadership quality that is needed to ensure that the safety culture is well practiced within the company and between the staffs and employers. You understand? Now, by tough caring simply mean trying to ensure that the right safety standard are followed at all times, being strict with the safety standard that should be followed at all time. You understand? Ensuring that the employees, you are making them understand that their safety is your priority and you are willing to do the necessary things to ensure that they are safe in doing their work. You are willing to be tough to ensure that they are safe in carrying out their work. And while also doing that, you try to show some care by trying to empathize with them and know that they are doing their best as well to ensure that they are doing their work safely and all of that. And also a lot of reasons that leads to these workers incurring injuries and a lot not abiding to the safety culture is as a result of lack of care in providing the right support by the leadership. So they do not provide the right support, do not provide the right psychological support or even the right equipment and tools to carry out this work safely. Understand? Now, if the company has the right leadership system and that have this safety culture at mind, they will always try to provide the support, be it psychological or in equipment and tools that are needed in carrying out this work safely and thereby ensuring the safety of their employees. You understand? So that's basically one other way that that can be effective in the construction safety management system. Now, another key aspect of the construction safety management system is accountability. Now, accountability and commitment sit at the top of the priorities for this construction safety management system. Understand? Now, the reason why most people behave the way they behave as regards safety is mostly because in most cases there are no consequences. The reason why a worker would decide to neglect safety and go through the shortcut in carrying out his work is probably because there are no consequences. You understand? So if there are consequences in place, it helps to keep these behaviors in check. You understand? Now, accountability is basically talking about putting measures and consequences to performance. Understand? That is, so you pick up a specific criteria to measure someone's performance and also put consequences for performances that are not up to standard or up to the needed requirement, you understand? You put measures and consequences in place. If there are measures and consequences in place, a lot of behavior regarding safety will be put in check. When people know that their wrongdoings, their attitude may attract a form of penalty or a form of consequences, they will help to put themselves in check. Take for instance, you are a building constructor, understand? You're a building engineer or a building constructor, and you were to construct a house, and in that construction, you were told that, or there was an agreement that if this building should collapse for any reason and maybe kill anybody, you will be killed. Understand? What will you do? When you are carrying out that work, you are going to ensure that you put in all the necessary effort, you meet up all the necessary standard to ensure that that house will be as solid, as strong as possible. Why? Because you know that if there is any fault and there is a collapse and anybody lose his or her life in the process, your life is also gone. And of course, you don't want to die. So you ensure that you put in every necessary effort. So if there is an accountability in place, if people are being held responsible for their actions, understand, there will be people will tend to uh, be more efficient in what they do and try to avoid wrongdoings and shortcut and maintain the appropriate safety culture of a particular company. Now, another is the goals and objective. You understand? Now, a construction safety management system must have stated goals and objective. You have the general objective as well as the specific objective. And the general objective is talking about objective like saying uh, employing a qualified safety personnel to run your safety programs in your company, you understand? Or putting a plan in place, safety plan in place, like you can use different like your JHA and all that, having a safety plan in place, or something like enforcing the safety rules and policies of your company. Now, all these are general objective that can be stated in your construction safety management system. Then also the company should have some specific objective. For instance, you can say, okay, one of the specific objective can be reducing the accident rate from maybe 70% to 40% in the next 2 months. That is a specific objective. You want to reduce it from the previous number, which is 70% of injuries, to 40% of injuries within a specified time. Understand? So that's a specific objective. Understand? So the construction safety management system must have its objective properly stated out. Now, next is the safety and health policy. Now, the safety and health policies help to serve as a guide in decision making for employees, as well as manager and supervisors. Understand? It gives them some level of confidence in decision making. Understand? Making certain decision without fear because it is stated in the policy, and also making certain decisions without having to go and constantly check from the boss or ask of the boss if they should do this or do that. Maybe because you already know that these things are stated on the guideline, you can make a decision without fear of having to check with the boss. Understand? So the safety and health policies helps to guide employers, supervisors, or employee supervisors or manager in decision making without fear or having to check with the boss. Now, take for instance, as part of the safety policy of a company, it was stated that no job is more important than the health and safety of a worker. Now, if you're a worker and you're working in a certain condition and you find out that or you encounter a particular hazard and you know there is a tendency for you to get exposed and it might be dangerous to your health and cause serious problem. Now, without fear or having to go and check with the boss to ask if you should carry on or not, understand, you can stop that job, carrying out that particular task You can quit carrying out a particular task and not be afraid of losing your job or receiving any form of query. Why? Because it was stated in the policy. So it serves as a guide for you to make that decision without fear or favor. You understand? So that's what the safety policy does. It helps to serve as guide. You understand? For employees as well as managers and supervisors in decision making. So next is the safety program. Now the safety program is a planned out action to achieve the safety objectives of the company, the different steps that are planned out to be followed to meet up the objective of the company. Then you also have responsibilities. Now it is very important that you know who is responsible for safety issues in a company settings. You understand? You should know each and everyone who carries the various responsibilities and who to report to. Understand? In due time or in due course. You understand? Then also according to OSHA, there are four employer role or categories on a multiple employer work site. So one is the creating employer. This is talking about the one who causes the hazard, who creates the condition, the hazardous condition. You understand that violates the OSHA standard. Then you also have the exposing employer. This is the one who has the employees that are exposed to that hazard that are created. Then you have the correcting employer is the one who is on site to correct that particular hazard or any hazard that occur in the course of the working process. Then you have the controlling employer. This is the one who is in charge, who is a supervisor over the working process. Also has the ability or authority to correct hazards as well. So next is the supervisor's safety responsibility. And the safety supervisor is a very key plays a very key role, understand, in the construction safety management system. The altitude with which is carried out his responsibility also determine the sources of the construction safety management system as well. He's the one that is expected to identify potential hazards and also bring up control methods to either minimize or eliminate those hazards and ensure that the workers, those who are working, are carrying out their work safely. You understand? So those are the responsibilities of the supervisor. The supervisor is a very key aspect or key personnel in the construction safety management system. Then finally, you have the OSHA requirement, talking about the rights that employers have under OSHA, as well as the responsibilities that OSHA bestowed on employers. You understand? So all of which are listed here as well. So we move on to the next chapter talking about working with contractors. Now, contractors are responsible responsible in all their contracts and meeting up with the OSHA standard. In all the contracts that they have, in every job that they have to do, it is their responsibility, the responsibility of the contractor to meet up with the OSHA standard. You understand? That is even differ from the own company standard. Aside from the fact that they are also required to meet up the company standards, safety standard, they are also required to meet up OSHA standard as well. And it is their responsibility to ensure that all working on site, all the employees and subcontractors are all safe in the course of their work as well. Then it said involvement begins before the project starts. That is to say, the moment you conceive the idea of the project, you should consider safety along with it. You understand? Safety should be considered from the very beginning, from the very inception of the project, conception of the project. Safety should be taught along as well. Said some key safety related efforts during this involvement phase. You understand the beginning during this phase, some of the key effort is to do what? assess the contractor past performance. Understand? As in trying to talk about things that will aid you in selecting or things that you should involve right from the beginning of a particular project. The first thing to know is to try and know who will be the contractor. And by doing that, you have to first of all assess his previous performances to know if he or she is fit to carry on with the contract or project you are to give to him. Then also say establish the appropriate safety and health requirement in contract specification. The safety the appropriate safety measures should be included in the contract, understand? Make sure you have an agreement with the contractor to ensure that safety is a priority in the course of the job. Then inclusion of applicable safety and health clauses. Every health clause, like we spoke about accountability, you understand? Give him the various things you want to see, the various standards, safety standards or safety operation standards you want to see in the course of the project, you understand, and also put consequences in place should in case there is a failure or there is a misbehavior as regards safety in the course of the project. So after the initiation phase or the beginning, which is the idea for the project has been conceived, now during the pre-bidding meeting, safety requirements should also be discussed and considered. You understand? You should be discussing what are the site-specific safety plan. You understand? Those should be discussed. The various safety representative that are going to be involved in the project, you understand, they should also be discussed. And several other safety related topics should be discussed during the pre-bidding meeting before you decide on giving out the contracts or not, you understand. All these things should be put into consideration. So all these safety requirements should be put into consideration while you're having the meeting to decide if to give out the project or not. Now, during the pre-mobilization meeting, that is preparing to embark or to start the project process, he said the following should also be discussed during the meeting, talking about the contractual safety requirement, a contract for the safety requirements, you understand, in the course of the project, also site-specific safety plan. What are the site-specific safety plan? Pre-phase work plan discussion, understand? You plan out the different phases, have all those discussion, requirement for daily pre-task meeting, and all of the others that are listed are the things you should also discuss about before the project finally commence, you understand? Alright, so now it says a contractor selection criteria. Now basically or traditionally, the method that I use for picking project is based on what? The lowest bidder, you understand? The one who is willing to carry out the job with the lower or lowest amount of money. You understand? Usually they are those that they give to projects, those that they give contracts to, you understand? But in a more advanced company, you understand, in a more advanced or a bigger company, they go beyond just using the traditional method by going to using some of the following like the total days away restriction or job transfer rate, talking about the DAT. Then also they use the total case incidence rate, TCIR, you understand. Then also they use the experience modification rate, EMR, of less than 1 for past 3 years and improving. They use past safety performance. They use your site-specific safety plan development and key management and worker training experience. You understand? So these are some of the things that more advanced companies, bigger companies, use to decide or use as a criteria for selecting their contractors. Now, the experience modification rate. Now, this is one of the requirements that uh, companies use in selecting their contractors for their contracts, you understand. Now they use it to determine if the safety credentials of the contractor is good or not, you understand. If the contractor has a good reputation, safety reputation or not, to determine if they will give him or her the contract. Then also the insurance companies use it to determine the compensation insurance premium that will be given to the employee that you'll be using to carry out that particular contract. Now, if you have a good record, that is to say, if your EMR is low, the premium that will also be given to your employees will be low as well. But if it is high, then the premium will also be high. So they use this particular EMR to determine if you have a good safety record or not. Definitely, if your safety record is not good, the chances of you getting that contract becomes very difficult. And also, they use your safety record to compare other contractors or industries around to know if you are actually doing well or not. So this EMR is used to determine your safety credentials as a contractor and also to know if you'll be given a contract or not. So next is the DART rate. So now this DART rate is also a criteria or requirement used by individuals or company to determine the safety credentials of a contractor to know if they will give him a job or not, a contract or not. You understand? So the DART simply means days away, excuse me, days away, restricted, and transfer. Now, as an employee working in a company, there is tendency for you to have or to get injured. Understand? And this injury may keep you away for some days. The number of days that you are being kept away is what is meant by the days away. There is also in cases where the injury might restrict you from performing certain tasks, either due to doctor's advice or whatever, but you are restricted from performing certain tasks as a result of that injury. That is what the restricted means. Then there are cases where this injury may lead to you being transferred from doing that particular job to another job entirely as a result of the injury. Understand? So that is what that is basically talking about. The injuries that could either keep you away for some days, restricted from carrying a particular task, or leading to you being transferred from performing your previous task. Understand? Now, all these kind of injuries, all these DART injuries are recorded in the OSHA log 300. Now, to calculate this DART rate, what you do is you get the numbers from the OSHA log, the numbers of the DART numbers from the OSHA log, that's either the number of days you were away, restricted, or transferred. You get this number from the OSHA log times 200,000 divided by the number of hours an employee or employees work in the company. You understand? The total number of hours employees work in the company. You use to divide it, and that will give you your DART rate. You understand? Now, the higher your DART rate, the more chances of you not getting contract as a contractor, because it proves that you are careless with safety. And even this can attract OSHA investigation and OSHA inspection that will put you in further trouble as well. Now, the next is the total case incident rate. Now, this is also a criteria for selecting a company or a contractor for a particular job, you understand. Now, this basically is a method that is used to report workplace injuries. You understand? Now, it's talking about the number of workers that gets injured in a workplace. Now, these numbers can be gotten and compared with other companies or contractors to determine how well you are faring. And if you are not faring very well, it may also affect your chances of gaining contracts or gaining job, you understand. Now, how this TCIRO is calculated is that you use 200,000 to multiply the number of injuries in your workplace, the number of injuries incurred in the workplace and divide them by the annual total hours worked, you understand. So you divide the number of injury in a workplace in a period of a year, you understand. So basically this calculation is done within 1 year. They calculate the number of injury that you incurred within a year, you times it by 200,000 and you divide it by the total number of hours worked for the whole of that year. And with that, they can determine the total case incident rate. And like I said, it can be compared with, used to be compared with other industries or other contractors. And if you're not faring very well, it may reduce your chances of getting contracts and jobs as a contractor or as a company. Now, this is an example of how the TCIR is calculated. Say, for example, if an employee with 50 workers reported 10 injuries in 2013 and workers in that industry worked 1 million hours that year, then the 2030 TCIR for that employee would be 200,000 times 10 divided by 1 million, which will give you a 2.0 TCIR. So it's very easy to calculate. Now, the next factor to consider is the key players. You understand? The key players talking about the project manager, the contractors, the superintendent, the supervisors, every key member of a particular project or a contract. Understand? Is what the key players is talking about. And all these persons should have the required experience in the project that they're about to embark on or they are to carry, they are to work on, and also they should have some level of experience to similar size of project, you understand. You should have some experience of carrying out the magnitude of the kind of project they are supposed to carry out as well. Then also they should have a record of success in previous project as well. Then next we have the project designers. Now these people, they should have the or identify the changes that may occur in the course of the project and also the safety and health repercussion of those changes should all be identified as well. Then they should also consider the safety and health of the employees or workers in the course of designing the project pattern and so on and so forth. Then you have the head contractor who is the head of all the personnel that are working there and also the subcontractors all as well. Understand? So we'll end here for today. We'll continue the next chapter in the course of the week and thank you very much for your time.